Okay, thank you. We are now live on YouTube. Good morning. My name is Councillor Jennifer McKelvey, and I am the Chair of Scarborough Community Council. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I'd like to now call meeting 21 to order. Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. This meeting is being held using the city's WebEx technology with members of council participating by video conference. City staff are also connecting to the meeting via video conference. As City Hall remains closed to the public, you can participate electronically by watching the meeting streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Because we are meeting remotely, we ask for your patience with any delays and technical issues. We currently have people registered to speak who have been connected to the meeting by audio. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Scarborough Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Before we begin, I want to remind you about the important health and safety measures we must all follow today. Attendance in the room is limited to those that are required for the meeting. The clerk's audiovisual and IT staff are with me here today. Members, this is a paperless meeting. The city clerk has provided all agenda materials via CMP, the clerk's meeting portal, including any confidential materials. Clerk's IT staff will be available remotely to participants to help with your devices. I would like to remind staff to keep their mics muted with their videos turned off unless they need to answer questions or speak to the committee. This will make it easier for me and those on YouTube to observe the members as they participate in the debate and voting on items. As part of each agenda item, I will ask members to raise their hand or unmute their mic if they wish to question staff or speak, and I will create a speakers list and call on members when it is their turn to speak. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure they turn on their video and raise their hands to indicate their vote. To ensure that I can see all members, I will ask to keep your hands raised until I've reviewed all of the members. Members, I want to remind you that you still must submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at scc@toronto.ca to help with motions. If there are any visiting members of council, seeing none, we encourage you to also turn on your video. Although we are meeting in different locations and meeting remotely today, Scarborough Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do, I ask you please raise your hand, unmute your mic. Seeing none, we next need a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on December 9th, 2020. Councillor Thompson moves that. All in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. Thank you. We will now run through the agenda. Item SC 21.1, preliminary report 1615 to 1641 Kingston Road and 50 to 52 Birchcliff Avenue, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and rental housing demolition applications in Ward 20. I will hold this for Councillor Crawford as there are 5 deputants. SC 21.2, preliminary report 2151 Kingston Road, zoning bylaw amendment application, Ward 20. Councillor Crawford, did you want to move your motion now or hold this item?
No, I can move this motion now. I just wanted to expand the notification area. I believe it's 300 meters. So I can move that now.
Okay, the clerks will pull up your motion.
Yeah, it's just moving 120 to 300 meters.
Okay, thank you. Now that we've moved back, all those in favor of Councillor Crawford's amendment? That passes. All those in favor of the item? The item passes. That brings us to SC 21.3, preliminary report 3291 Kingston Road 2 and 4 Windy Ridge Drive, official plan amendment, zoning amendment, and rental housing demolition applications in Ward 20. Likewise, Councillor Crawford, would you like to hold the item or move your amendment?
Let's just hold that for now. I do have a few questions of staff that are similar to SC 21.1, so I'll just hold it and I'll speak briefly when it comes up.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to item SC 21.4, preliminary report 2499 Victoria Park Avenue, zoning amendment application, Ward 22. I will hold that in my name as there is one deputant, and this is in Ward 22. SC 21.5, preliminary report 448 to 454, Markham Road zoning bylaw amendment application, Ward 24. Councillor Ainsley, I will hold that for you as there is one deputant.
Thank you.
SC 21.6, traffic control signals, private driveway at 2750 Morningside Avenue, Ward 23. Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move a staff recommendation, please.
Thank you, Councillor Lai. All those in favor of staff recommendations? All those opposed? That item carries. Thank you. And that brings us to item SC 21.7, appointments to the Wexford Heights Business Improvement Area Board of Management in Ward 21. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I can move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. All those in favor of staff recommendations? That item carries. I'd like to welcome Deanna Dickens-Demers, as I'm sure Councillor Thompson would, to the BIA. That brings us back to the top of the agenda at item SC 21.1, preliminary report 1615 to 1641 Kingston Road. There are 5 deputants. The clerks have confirmed that they are on the line. Our first deputant is Karen Azukar. Karen, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you. I'll start the clock now.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Azukar. I'm a small business owner here in Birchcliff Village, and I'm a tenant of Lenmore Court in Building 1625. I'm also a member. I've also become a member of Acorn Toronto, Canada. Toronto. I've also become a member, just seeing how strongly they advocate for tenant issues and affordable housing. The disturbing news of the acquisition of Lenmore Court by All-Tree Developments came at the end of a 3-month lockdown, which saw the closure of my business and the resulting negative effects of my mental health. Though All-Tree didn't officially state their plans for redevelopment until October, I knew that this would be bad news for myself and for my neighbors. My fears became a reality when we had our first meeting with All-Tree in October after they made their application to tear our homes down for a major redevelopment official. Since then, I have been struggling, no doubt, like many of my neighbors, some who have lived in the buildings 20 plus years. It's painful to know that what we call home is going to be taken away from us, even if it's just a few years down the road. All-Tree's proposal to demo-evict the tenants to build their profit-generating monster of a condo means we will have to find new places to live, facing higher rents, which most tenants can't afford. From what we have been told by All-Tree, if everything goes according to their plan, we would be renting out those interim apartments only a few years, while another planned condo just over a kilometer from Birchcliff and Kingston Road is being built. Then we would be placed in new development, displacing us out of our beloved neighborhood of Birchcliff. Nothing about this is ideal. As we discuss these matters today, I am once again under lockdown, unable to generate any income. I'm already facing tremendous pressure from my business landlord to pay my rent for December and January, as they are being impatient with the delays from the government assistance. It's a very real possibility that I may get evicted and I will not have a business to return to when restrictions on the city ease up. We're facing a real crisis with this life-altering pandemic, emotionally, mentally, socially, and economically. All this while having to worry about losing the place that I call home. I'm starting my new year losing sleep at night, fearful every day that I will lose my home and my second home, my productive business where I joyfully service my Birchcliff community and earn my living. I ask you to please consider the heavy effects this proposal has on our community. More than ever, I'm so proud to live in Birchcliff, where most of my clients, friends, and neighbors have been tremendously supportive in this crisis. Over the last few months, after countless meetings with the homeowners surrounding Lenmore Court, we've all come to the same conclusion. This proposed development is just bad planning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Karen. Are there any questions for the deputant? Okay. Thank you, Karen. Our next deputant is Tracy Christoforou.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is
Thank you,
Tracy.
Tracy. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Tracy Cristoforo, and I'm also a member of ACORN, and I'm also a tenant here at Lenmore Court Apartments in 1625. Now, I've been a tenant here for more than 21 years. I came to this location, well, in all honesty, I came here fleeing a very abusive relationship, and I came to put my life and my children's life under stable grounds, which I've done for 21 years, but now I'm being told that we may lose our home. We will, which we have no choice of the matter. So we joined in with ACORN with this, obviously, because ACORN's great advocacy group, over 130,000 Canadian members, 12,000 alone in Scarborough. So I'm here joining in as a very concerned tenant and a resident in the neighborhood. Being here 21 years, this is where my life is. My doctor is here. My friends are here. My social gatherings are here. My church is here. The school is here. By the way, the school that was overcrowded 21 years ago across the street still, with too many students back then. Now we're having 264 more units, condos across the street. The school is not going to accommodate that. My main focus is my tenancy. I don't want to lose my home. This is our comfort zone, our surroundings. My children, like we all know, many adult children are back at home. I have my adult children at home with me. No one has anywhere to go. We can't get a job. We're all on lockdown. We're all feeling the same depression, the same emotional scars from this. I've lost my mother throughout this COVID also, only to be told that I may lose my home now. So, I mean, it's just coming in a chain reaction, and it's very, very traumatic to us emotionally, physically, everything. We don't feel that our cares, our concerns, our needs are even being considered here. We have the Altry development, bad planning, very bad planning. They are planning to move us up 1.6 kilometers up the road. 1.6. That's not our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is Birch Cliff community, not Cliff Crest community. I don't want to live in Cliff Crest. I would have moved there 20 years ago if I really wanted to live there. I like to shop there, but I don't want to live there. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do now. All we know is Altry is here just coming in and chopping away and wanting to destroy us. I have a great suggestion, I think. Since I've been here 21 years, I've watched and contributed 100% myself cleaning our own buildings here. Our superintendent has only mopped our buildings, mopped once per year. We like to clean. How about we change this into a co-op? None of the co-ops in the neighborhood anywhere are accepting any applicants anymore. No applications are allowed. So that means low income, moderate income, any income. It doesn't qualify for co-ops. Why don't we switch this over to a co-op here and say, forget about this monstrosity of condo development that doesn't even fit. It's not even logical putting that in the small neighborhood here. I propose for, like I say, I propose for co-op. I would love to join you and work something out to make these buildings a co-op. Like, once we have to move, I consider myself homeless because I will not be able to pay double the rent anywhere else. I will not even be able to pay anything a slight over what I'm paying right now. Being unemployed, looking for work, I don't qualify for CERB money. I am struggling. There's enough bad going on in the world right now without coming in, some big developer, Altry, coming in and pulling our homes out from underneath our feet. It's horrible. It's caused some serious damage physically and mentally. At the impact that it's caused to us even now, we're not seeing that the concern or the care of us is taking precedence over anything. The social well-being should be taking precedence here, and so far it's not. And I want to see it take precedence.
Tracy.
Thank you so much for your time, giving me the time. Thank you.
Are there questions for the deputant? Okay, seeing none, thank you again, Tracy. Our next deputant is John Hartley.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, John. You have 5 minutes.
Very good. You've already heard some of the social problems this development is creating. The issue you face today is whether to initiate the process to authorize a public consultation and the relevant notice area. Misrepresentations, misdirection, and outright lies are not the basis upon which a public consultation should be held. I'm asking you to defer that decision for at least until your next meeting in order to allow the planning department to do its work and completely vet this application. With regard to the formal notice area, the planner recommended a statutory minimum of 120 meters. The rationale for that decision was apparently that it was the template. That's not a reasonable rationale. Frankly, anyone who uses Kingston Road should be formally notified regarding this development because they're going to be directly affected by the ongoing traffic Armageddon that this project will exacerbate. We all know this. Your mayor initiated an initiative directly to deal with that traffic situation. There's already a firestorm of protest regarding this development. Hundreds, literally hundreds of folks have bought, paid for, and posted protest signs in the midst of COVID. There have been 2 public demonstrations and a Zoom hall meeting attended by 100 people and shut out many, many more folks who were not able to attend due to technological limitations. There will be much more protest and angst and outright anger as the word spreads and residents are informed. The city received in excess of $180,000 fee for this application. Altry started lobbying on the record last February. There are hundreds of pages of very technical and detailed reports submitted along with this application. There is, by my calculation, at least a $50 million profit for this project alone. Altry has hired one of the largest law firms in the city, along with a large number of planners and architects and engineers, all at considerable cost. Altry has committed tens of millions of dollars to this project. Altry induced the city planner to conduct a public meeting with the tenants on this site prior to the application even being submitted. Yet, with all that money, all those resources, and all that commitment, this application is riddled with errors, misrepresentations, and I'll leave it at that. So the question you face directly is how can we possibly have an adequate public consultation based upon that? The answer is we can't. Planning department has had 3 months to vet this project. That apparently hasn't been sufficient time to provide adequate, accurate information on which to found a real public discussion. Soon our neighbors to the south will no longer be living in a Trump world. I'm urging you to ensure that we don't go down that road. We need to have a public consultation based on hard, real, accurate facts. We don't have those facts now. Give the planning department sufficient time to do its work and reveal those facts. The propaganda that has been spread and is being spread about this proposal needs to be corrected on the record before any public consultation takes place. So I'm urging you, I'm recommending to you, I'm begging you to do the right thing. Before any public consultation, the actual hard facts must be on the table, fully disclosed. Without that, any public consultation is a farce and you shouldn't be part of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputant? We'll do Councillor Crawford and then Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hartley. Just a couple questions with regard to, you have requested us to defer this decision. The only decision that is being made is, and I will be, just to let you know, if you weren't aware, expanding the consultation area. It'll be broad, very broad, in fact, adhering to a request that came in from somebody in the community. So that'll be happening. So it'll be very from Queensbury all the way over to Rosetta, south of Danforth, so a very large area. And I'll be asking the same questions of staff, but you realize that the only decision is to begin a process of community consultation. And in fact, it gives staff the ability to start looking at all those hard facts that you mentioned, and they're looking at that. So they will be coming to the community, a very robust community consultation with the hard facts. So that is actually what they are doing. They want to bring the hard, and they're working with all the different divisions to bring those hard facts to the community. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that, because you seem to suggest that we have to defer this so the hard facts can come. In fact, that is exactly what staff will be doing based on this decision today to move forward.
I guess the answer to that, Gary, is what's the rush? They've had 3 months. They haven't done it yet. They haven't revealed any reports to us that tease out the erroneous facts. We need those facts before we have the public consultation. That seems to me to be fundamental. Like, why should we have a public consultation before we have real facts? What's the rush?
Again, thank you very much, Mr. Hartley. Maybe one of my colleagues will mention this, but I will assure you very clearly that the community will have the hard facts, all the facts that you have mentioned, prior to any robust community consultation. There'll be a full consultation, and they've already started within the community. There'll be more than just the one statutory meeting. There'll be a number of them. And I just want to ensure you and the community that all the hard facts that you're mentioning will be part of the community consultation. And thank you very much for
Gary, assurances like that are just like the assurances that we received over several years regarding the consultation on Manderley. And then the building was flipped. And then we found out, guess what? That deal was not enforceable. That's what we need. We need real facts, real consultation, and real enforceable agreements. We don't need hope. I mean, that's what you're quoted as saying that we should rely on with respect to the Manderley. We should have hope that the developer will work with us. That's not a plan.
Thank you for responding to the question. Are there any additional questions? Councillor Thompson, you had your hand up, or did that answer your question?
Madam Chair, I think that Councillor Crawford's effort with respect to asking about the hard facts coming out and his position basically is in sync with respect to the approach I was going to seek through the speaker. So I think I'm satisfied with respect to the approach that Councillor Crawford has taken. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. That brings us to our next debutant, Rob Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Scarborough Council members.
You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rob Carmichael. I've lived at 25 Birchcliff Avenue in the Birchcliff community for more than 20 years. Today, I am here as the representative of the Birchcliff Village Community Association. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to bring our association's serious concerns about Altry's development proposal for the site of Lenmore Court and Birchcliff Avenue to your attention. Our association reflects a broad and diverse cross-section of the Birchcliff Village community. The association grew out of a Facebook group, which now has 3,700 active members. Our meetings and communications on this development proposal specifically have engaged hundreds of concerned residents, both tenants and homeowners. We have come together across perspectives to crystallize our position, our concerns, and our asks as a community. Due to the fact that I'm bringing the concerns of a very large number of residents, I respectfully request an additional minute or two to ensure I get all of the information out for this deputation. Our community's position is that this proposal by Altry amounts to irresponsible development for a number of important reasons. First, this development would displace tenants in affordable housing and demolish affordable housing during an affordable housing crisis in our city that is rapidly expanding during these hard times. It would have a massive and incompatible scale that would see it encroach into single home designated neighborhood. It would worsen traffic congestion and street safety and further overcrowd our local schools and infrastructure. Finally, it would put inappropriate strain on our environmental resources as it would sit precariously close to our delicate Scarborough Bluffs ecosystem, which is already under threat, even without a development of this scale. Building on these clear concerns, our group has coalesced around 5 reasonable asks that we hope you will join us in achieving for our community as we fight this proposal in its current form. Our current asks are: no displacement of Lenmore Court tenants, protect our neighbors in the 3 rental buildings at Lenmore Court, and fight for their right to remain here at 615 to 1641 Kingston Road in Birchcliff Village in permanent and affordable rental housing. No encroachment or rezoning of residential street homes. Allowing the encroachment upon and rezoning of residential homes, in this case 2 houses on Birchcliff Avenue, sets another very, very dangerous precedent and is poor planning for this community. Limit density, width, and height of any developments. Follow the guidelines approved by the City Council in the 2009 Kingston Road Revitalization Plan for Birchcliff, where developments are to be compatible and enhance the character of Birchcliff Village with respect to urban design, size, and density. The local avenue study asked that developments be limited to 4 to 6 stories in Birchcliff Village. Number 4, ensure safe traffic flow and intersections. Any traffic flow from new developments in Birchcliff must flow safely onto Kingston Road and be designed to prevent dangerous traffic flows onto neighboring side streets, most of which, by the way, have no sidewalks, and at school intersections. Number 5, protect our bluffs environment and local infrastructure. Do not rely on developer-paid studies. We need independent studies supported by city funds to protect these local assets. Madam Chair and Council members, we are asking for your help in achieving these asks. They're critical to the health and prosperity of our neighbors and our community. What we need right now from you today is your help ensuring an expanded notice area regarding this development proposal. Our Birchcliff neighbors, as Gary has indicated, from Queensbury on the west to Danforth on the north, to the lake on the south, to the merging of Danforth and Kingston Road on the east, all of these people need to be informed. To close, I want to stress what our community is fighting for is not no development. It is responsible development. This proposal by Altry is irresponsible. The City of Toronto's official plan opens with a powerful question. What kind of city will Toronto be in the 21st century? With this proposal and your response to it, you have a chance to answer that question. Are you going to fight this development to ensure we are a city that protects affordable housing and the residents who live in it, especially now during this pandemic, with tent cities springing up everywhere around us? Or will you allow such a proposal to eject folks who live here, who are young families, essential workers,
just wrap it up.
local business owners, elderly residents who call Birchcliff home? We want you to take the hard choices and ensure city becomes an aspirational city for the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Are there questions of the deputant? Okay. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning, and thank you, Mr. Carmichael. So, if I heard you correctly, you certainly have the 5 asks, which are extremely reasonable, and you identify those and you've elaborated on them and the impact and the effect and so on. With respect to the report that's in front of us, it seeks to go through a formal process where the 5 asks that you've identified and other issues that members of the community, the Birchcliff community may have, could be addressed through that process. Are you satisfied that what we have in front of us as part of a process in terms of how this planning application process works, that you'll be able to bring forward those concerns as part of this process and working with the local councillor who has indicated that he has an interest in expanding the notification area?
Deputy Mayor, I will admit that I am not fully educated on the full process of how this works, and so
Yes.
I would be hesitant to truly answer that question in a genuine and authentic way.
Sure.
I would say that we are extremely concerned, as Mr. Hartley has expressed, with the
Yes.
money behind this, and we believe
Yes.
that there's a significant power imbalance between what a developer brings to the table in terms of resources and what we can bring as residents.
Yes.
And so that's a huge, huge concern for us. And I'm here to express these concerns to say, you know, we need you. We need you to help us through this.
Yes.
And the first real, we wanted to put on record our 5 asks so that
Sure.
you're informed of how the community feels.
Yes.
And the first, I think, real request is something that I think Gary is already planning on, sorry, Councillor Crawford is already planning on moving forward,
Yes.
which is a very, very significant expanded notice area, and that's great.
Right. And are you aware that there is a policy in place at the city that looks at what is required in terms of potential displacement and the replacement requirement for tenants who are renting in an area where, as a result of development, they would be displaced? Are you aware of the process?
I am aware of the policy. Again, I would not say
Okay.
that I would know, the particulars of it. Once
Sure.
again, I would point out the concern is the way that Altry has dealt with the tenants so far.
Fair enough.
And
Yeah.
we're making it known that to you respectfully, that we're not
Yes.
okay with that.
Thank you, and that's very clear and that's helpful. And may I just commend you, sir, on the way you presented the argument on behalf of the community. I could see why you are the community representative, and it's really helpful to have your being here today, voicing on behalf of the community. So I commend you for that. And I think I would say to you simply, from my perspective, it's very clear to me that the points that you're raising could be addressed through and that's the only way that we're able to deal with these things, through this preliminary report process, to ensure that all the guidelines and all of the different asks that you wish to be addressed would be addressed through this process. So I just want to give you that assurance that we are aware, and that the points that you're making are very helpful, at least for me to understand, as I'm not the local councillor, and I have all confidence in your local councillor in terms of dealing with these matters. Thank you very much for your time and responding to my questions, sir. Madam Chair, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Are there any additional questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you. That brings us to our last deputant on this item, Louis Tinker.
Hi, good morning, Chair and members of council.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. My name is Louis Tinker. I'm a land use planner with the firm Bousfields. I'm speaking today on behalf of the applicant, Alltree Developments. I want to start by saying thank you for the comments that have been provided by the previous deputants. We are listening carefully, and we take those comments very seriously. We look forward to engaging further with the tenants on the site and with the wider community. In 2010, City Council approved the Kingston Road Revitalization Study, including amendments to the official plan, zoning bylaw, and the creation of associated urban design guidelines. This has led to a number of new mixed-use, mid-rise developments along the Kingston Road corridor that have increased housing and retail opportunities and have resulted in public realm improvements. And as with a number of properties within the revitalization area, this particular property was identified for potential redevelopment for mid-rise mixed-use purposes. We do know that the site, as has been mentioned, contains a number of existing rental units and tenants of Lenmore Court, and we know that their concerns and their needs have to be addressed through this project. The City of Toronto does have enhanced authority to regulate the demolition of rental properties within the city, including the requirements for rental unit replacement, tenant relocation, and assistance plan. This is in place in order to protect and enhance affordable rental units across the city. Tenants will have the right to return to a new rental unit at the same apartment type, at a similar size, and rent to what they experience today. Additional notification and compensation will also be secured by housing policy staff through a review process. Alltree is aware of these policies and process and reached out very early in the process to speak with planning and housing policy staff so that consultation could start early. As was mentioned, a pre-application virtual meeting was hosted by Alltree to provide tenants with initial information about the project and also to introduce them to the applicant and to housing policy staff. We are very early in the process. Nobody is being asked to leave the buildings, and there is regular maintenance of the building has and will continue. We look forward to working with planning, housing, and local ward councillor to establish a robust consultation process for both the tenants and for the broader community. We understand that there is a recommendation on the table to expand the notification area for both for this project, and Alltree Developments is supportive of that recommendation. And I'll just say that I'm available now to answer any questions if you may have any. Thank you.
Thank you. I can see that Councillor Crawford has a question of the deputant.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Tinker, for coming today and for speaking towards the preliminary application. So again, just to put on the table, you do recognize there are serious concerns from the community, the residents, not only Lenmore Courts, but I think the whole area on this application. You recognize the challenges that are there with regard to the community accepting this.
Yes, I've heard those loud and clear, and we recognize those. And as with any development that occurs across the city, there are always issues that we have to work through. We have to come to the table and make sure that we have all the facts on the table and we share information. And the hope is that we are able to work through those through the process.
And again, not knowing if you're aware of the history of the community, but about 10 years ago, and I think some of my colleagues, Deputy Mayor Thompson may be aware, the community went through a rezoning. It was the Kingston Road, Birchcliff rezoning to really look at how and what the community really wants to have in their area. And that was, so we pre-zoned that whole area from pretty much Victoria Park all the way over to Birchmount. And that was through extensive community consultation. It was prior to me being a councillor, but I knew a lot of people who were involved in that. That particular site was rezoned already for a 4 to 6 story condominium of some sort. And you are going well beyond that, I believe 9 stories, if I'm not mistaken. Not only that, but I believe you are to achieve that density. You are looking at encroaching 2 houses into our neighborhoods. We hold very highly our ability to save and protect neighborhoods, especially out in Scarborough. So I just want to make sure that you are well aware of those policy challenges that the community, and by the way, I support. And I think most of my colleagues will support a lot of that issues. But I just want to make sure that you and Alltree are aware of those challenges, because the only way you can achieve the density and this development here is to go against a number of very important city policies with regard to growth in that community.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor, yes, we are aware of the policy framework for the site today, and we've set forward a rationale as to why we believe that it's appropriate to move forward with the development that we're proposing within the context of those policies. But yes, I hear you, Councillor. We are aware of the history of the site and the policy framework.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions, Madam Speaker. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Are there any additional questions of the deputies? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Louis, for your deputation. We now move to questions of staff.
You have some questions of staff?
Great, Councillor Crawford and then Councillor Ainsley.
Yeah, just through planning staff, can you just give us and people watching the purpose of this report, what a preliminary report actually does or is, the decision that is being made based on that, and how that dictates the process moving forward? But I think there's a bit of confusion with some people, through the deputations, and even probably listening on YouTube. But can you just sort of outline the decision we're doing today, what a preliminary report does, and then I may have a few other questions.
Good morning. It's Paul Zuliani responding through the chair and to the councillor. The City of Toronto is required to receive development applications from private landowners, and it begins the planning process. A preliminary report is simply the first step where city staff identify that an application has been received. We describe what the applicant is proposing. We identify all the issues we see firsthand, and we indicate that we would like to go out and begin consultation, because the planning process is a long process that involves consultation with the community and many stakeholders. And so, quite frankly, it's the beginning of the process. It asks for staff to go out and begin the consultation process, and it will result in a process where an application is hopefully revised a number of times until it starts to address all the concerns identified. So that's generally what the report is doing.
Thank you, Mr. Zuliani. With regard, if we chose today to say no to this, I mean, we've heard the community's concerns already at this early point. If we as council said no to this, what are the ramifications? What would that say? What sort of rights does the applicant have? But if for whatever reason we said no to this, what is the next step?
Through the chair, again, responding to the question, every applicant in Ontario has the right to appeal an application. And so if council did not allow this application to be processed fully and indicated that they wish to refuse it at this point, the applicant could utilize its right of appeal, and we would be at the local planning tribunal arguing the matter there. However, there is one aspect in this application that cannot be appealed, and that is the demolition of the rental units. That aspect of this application does not have appeal rights to the tribunal, and council's decision on those matters are final.
So in other words, if we said no to this, it would impact not only the people in that community right now, because that building probably would be demolished, but it would also probably, when we're looking at appeal, put the city at a disadvantage, I guess I can maybe call it that, at appeal. And the likelihood, again, you never can guarantee where an appeal process will go, but it doesn't put the city in good light or standing with regard to an appeal if we decided to say no to this at this point. That's probably a correct answer, I assume.
Yes, through the chair, if we do end up before the tribunal on an appeal, it is always to the city's advantage to have undergone a full comprehensive review, including consultation with the community, so that the best defense possible can be brought forward. So that's why we always recommend initiating a review of an application and consulting with the community before we bring forward a report which could recommend or refuse an application.
Thank you. And just one last quick question. I have to give you the opportunity to respond. One of the deputants made some serious allegations, I guess, that the application is riddled with errors and misrepresentations, and they wanted, this particular applicant wanted the item deferred until the hard facts come in. So can you just please, in the 30 seconds you have left, talk about that process of what is before you and the facts that you will be bringing out as part of a consultation. I just wanted to give you that opportunity to respond because I was concerned about some of those allegations that were made in the work that you as planning are doing.
Thank you. Through the chair, again, planning receives an application package from the applicant. They have to meet stringent guidelines in terms of a complete application. So they have sworn a declaration on their application form. They have submitted plans. They have submitted studies by professionals, and that is the information that we take and review. If the general public believe that there's incorrect information in those studies, this is the opportunity to raise that. However, city staff will be reviewing all the work, and it is now our opportunity to determine whether the information is correct, whether changes have to be made, and whether we need any other new information. So at this time, I would not characterize it as incorrect. I would say it's at the beginning of a process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Ainsley, you had questions?
I do. Thank you.
And then, sorry, I see Councillor Thompson as well. So we'll do Councillor Ainsley and Councillor Thompson.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. To Mr. Zuliani, in the report, page 8 to 19 outlines issues that planning staff are working around. One of them has to deal with the rental units. In the report, it says that it's recognized the rental units in these buildings need to be protected and replaced. The applicant has offered to move them to another application they have in the pipeline at 2151. I'm trying to understand, so we're dealing with this application now. If we move this preliminary report forward, if for some reason the application at 2151 falls apart, what protections are we going to have in place for those rental units to be maintained?
Through the chair, although we do have a full comprehensive group of staff here able to answer the questions, especially around housing as well. However, I would indicate to you that first of all, we have to determine whether offsite relocation is appropriate. And second of all, should that be the case, it would have to be somehow entwined through bylaws or legislation to ensure that one project is approved before the other one could be approved. So there will have to be ways to guarantee that that is the case if it is appropriate to relocate offsite.
Okay, and that would include, Paul, the people that are renting in these buildings on Kingston Road now. They would be guaranteed a place in 2151, or are we just saying we have 33 rental units in these buildings, 2151 Kingston Road would have 33 units?
I believe I'm going to forward that question to either Yishen Liu, the planner on the file, or Allison Smith, our housing planner, who can describe exactly what our legislation requires.
Okay.
Hi, Councillor. I can answer that. This is Allison Smith, the housing policy planner, reviewing the file. They are proposing to replace those 33 units from 1615 Kingston Road to 2151 Kingston Road, and we consider this offsite replacement, and we do consider this type of proposal. It has happened a handful of times, but it is something we're still thinking through in terms of timing as to if this is something that is able to be supported by staff. We haven't yet determined the timing of how that would be achieved, but that is definitely something that we are thinking about. We would ensure that those units are secured so that no units are lost. So there would be some type of mechanism to ensure that the replacement units are for sure secured, whether it's at 2151 or at 1615 Kingston Road.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Zuliani, back to you. The applicant is proposing to tear down 2 single-family residential homes on Birchcliff Avenue. And I do see in the list of concerns on page 8 to 19, those 2 houses coming down aren't listed as a concerns. For myself, I'm just trying to understand that this proposal would be bleeding into a single family residential street and what impact that could have on the street in the future. If we allow this to go forward, I know there's a number of older homes on the street. If a developer was to come along and buy a number of them, would these 2 houses being part of this proposal, would that make it easier for a developer to put townhouses in or another low-rise building on Birchcliff?
Through the chair, this application does involve an official plan amendment seeking to redesignate those 2 single detached lots from neighborhoods designation to mixed use designation to accommodate this project. And we do identify that as an issue that needs to be reviewed and resolved. I will say that Kingston Road as an avenue calls for intensification. Kingston Road as a road that's angular, in an angular sort of position, sometimes has difficulty accommodating mid-rise development. If in this application we determine that a redesignation of those 2 lots are appropriate, I would say that it would never have any further impact on the neighborhood, because this is about creating a development fronting on Kingston. It's not about intruding into the neighborhood. So I would say that it would not have any impact further into the neighborhood. The real question is, should those 2 lots be considered as appropriate to accommodate this development?
Okay. And then my last question.
You're out of time. That's you're over 5 minutes on questions. Let's push it over to Councillor Thompson now.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I wanted to ask staff about the infrastructure and the servicing capacity in the area with respect to this development. Is there sufficient infrastructure and capacity of roads, sewer, et cetera, to accommodate this proposed development?
Thank you, Councillor. I'll pass this question on to Yishan Liu, who's handling the application.
Through the chair, through the process, we'll be looking at whether there will be sufficient capacity in terms of infrastructure and servicing, and if there are some deficiencies in capacity, that would be something that the applicant would need to pay to approve on.
Right. So part of this preliminary process is really to identify the necessary elements that would be needed to allow staff to determine whether or not the proposal by the applicant is one that would obviously have negative impact and or positive impact as part of this development process. So is that part of the efforts as it relates to the preliminary report process, Mrs. Zuliani?
For the chair, and I'll answer on behalf of Yishan, because the answer is yes. And as part of our review, we will consider all infrastructure, both hard and soft, in the community.
Mm-hmm. I guess my final question through you, Madam Chair, have we looked at the heritage impact and so on? Is there some potential relating to that? And what process is in place for us to be able to examine the heritage impact of this proposed development?
I will forward that question to both Yishan and perhaps Christian to answer whether there's any heritage designation list or any other issue on these properties.
So through the chair, the school across the street is listed as a heritage property, and the applicant has submitted a heritage impact assessment that's currently under review by our heritage planners.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Are there any additional questions of the applicant? Sorry, of the city staff? Okay, we'll move to speakers.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Councillor Ainsley,
Yeah.
I did have one question left that I wanted to ask. Could we get a second round so I could ask the one question?
You could. I also sent you a note saying, do you want to send me your question? I'll ask it. So, but yes, we can move to a second if the floor concedes. So all those in favor, second round? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues. Mr. Zuliani, I just wanted to ask, former Councillor Brian Ashton did a lot of work in this area with residents, and Councillor Crawford made mention of it around getting community input on what was appropriate for the area. And my understanding was it was buildings at a maximum height of 4 to 6 floors, which this is exceeding. I'm just trying to understand how what we voted on, I'm pretty sure I voted on that years ago at City Council, how that process would impact this project, whether it's superseded or if Section 37 benefits would come into play if we're exceeding that. How is that looked at within this preliminary report?
Thank you for the question. I'd like to pass that one over to either Yishan Liu or Christian Ventresca, the manager for the area.
Through the chair, Councillor, it is the as of right condition, and through their application, they're proposing the amendment to that avenue zoning bylaw that the councillor mentioned, and I believe the deputants mentioned as well. So we are looking at the built form parameters put in place through the zoning, and the applicant has the burden of making representation as to why the proposed amendment is appropriate, and we are reviewing that justification. What I would suggest as well is that there are council-wide or citywide council guidelines as well, the mid-rise performance standards being one that we will look at to determine the appropriateness of the increase. And there have been other amending applications along this corridor of the bylaw, either through rezoning process. One of the applicants mentioned the Manderley proposal at Kingston and Manderley, as well as through committee of adjustment, where we apply the built form expectations of the mid-rise guidelines to determine if an increase in height or density is warranted.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, sorry,
second round, were there any other questions?
Yeah, I just had a quick clarification. Mr. Ventresca, you mentioned the as of right zoning rights that we have because it was pre-zoned in the area. If this application had come in with 4 to 6 stories, as some others in the area had, there's no community consultation. You more or less give them that ability. Now, the rental component is a little different, but if they came in with the 4 to 6 stories as of right, can you just describe what would happen? There's really no community consultation because, in fact, what would have happened 10 years ago when we rezoned the area?
Through the chair, Councillor, you're correct. Just putting aside the rental housing component of this, which would have a consultation process with the tenants only, but the site plan process that would implement the as of right 4 to 6 story condition is a delegated matter. Where staff and the applicant, negotiate or ensure the appropriate implementation of the as-of-right zoning, access, materials, balconies, etc. But if they comply with the zoning bylaw, there would not be an opportunity for the wide community consultation, the process that you are proposing through your potential, I'm assuming, potential motion to expand the notification area.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for you and the community to ensure that. Again, if it was 6 stories, we wouldn't be having this conversation outside of the rental, which is a really important issue, but I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? So we now move to speakers. I know Councillor Crawford has a motion.
Yeah, I do have a motion. Thank you, Madam Chair, to expand the notification area. Again, this is a standard change or notification. I think there's very few applications that come before us at Community Council where we don't expand the legislated 120 meters. So this is an expansion to Queensberry, Danforth, south to Rosetta McLean Gardens. It expands it considerably from what we had, and I think it recognizes some of the concerns that we have in the community. What I want to say first off, number one, I want to thank the deputants who have come out at this early stage, and recognizing it's not usual that we have deputations as part of a preliminary application, but what it says to me and what it says to my colleagues is the concern that a community already has about an application coming into their area. And I recognize that seriousness in the deputations that have come before us. And I also want to state very clearly that if this was a final application that was coming before us today, I would be categorically saying no to it. It's too big, it's too dense. There are a number of things that just do not meet the standards for the community and for the city. And I don't think, not speaking for my colleagues, but I don't know whether or not they would be supporting if this was a final application coming before us. But again, this is the beginning of a process. It's a long process. It will be a very robust process of community consultation that has already started with the community. And I can assure the community there will be every opportunity to, whether it's smaller, larger meetings, having that opportunity to have discussions, not only with our planning staff, but with Altry, starting probably in February as we start looking at the importance of the consultation that has to happen. But this is the process that we have now set out. Our staff now have that authority to begin that consultation, and it will be robust. I will guarantee you that. And again, with regard to the 5 separate key areas that, or the asks that Mr. Carmichael have mentioned, that I've already stated to the community, I support those 5 asks. And I think, and I thank you, Deputy Mayor Michael Thompson, for also acknowledging those 5 key areas that we'll be looking at. And they are reasonable asks. And I think our planning staff know that they are reasonable asks. And I will be supporting that moving through this process. And I do have to make a comment, with regard to this power imbalance. Whether an application developer has, $2 million, $50 or $100 million before them, doesn't concern me whatsoever. We also have the City of Toronto. We have my colleagues who, and not only Community Council, but full City Council that look at development all across the city. It is my priority, it is my obligation, I guess, to really look at what is best for the community, what is best for the city. And I know myself and my colleagues will be looking at that as this application goes through the process. And we've gone through many of these applications ourselves, and will continue to do so. And when this comes back to Community Council, I can rest assured to my colleagues that there will be a thorough process, a thorough opportunity for the community to be engaged time and time again to ensure that process happens. And with regard to our planning staff, I have to, give them credit for their professionalism that they have so far shown with regard to this application and others that I've been involved in. I've been involved in dozens with our staff, and the professionalism that they bring forward and the acknowledgement of some of the challenges. And there are challenges with this development already, and they've already been outlined when we're looking at the density, going beyond what the Kingston Road Revitalization Community wanted, which is 4 to 6 stories. And the fact that there's going to be an incursion into our neighborhoods, those 2 houses. If it wasn't for those 2 individual houses, this development probably wouldn't be happening to the same extent. I take that very seriously when we're looking at that kind of an incursion into our neighborhoods. In areas all across Scarborough, we want to protect, and we're looking at part of the planning process. We recognize that development is important. Development is happening and will happen, especially along the Kingston Road corridor that some of my other colleagues have as part of their wards. But we recognize development is important. But what was critically important is as we grow as a city, as we grow as a community, we need to protect our neighborhoods. And that'll be a challenge when we're looking at the policy side of what staff have to balance out on these two individual sites. And actually, there was the next item coming up talks about that as well. But again, I want to just thank the community for coming out, recognizing how important this development is to the community, and we have to follow a proper process to ensure that we end up with what is needed for the community. This is really about a partnership between the community, between the city, and the developer. If we can ensure a good, solid process between those three partners, the outcomes will be something that everybody will be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Any additional speakers? Okay, we'll vote on the amendment first, if you want to pull it up. Okay, and we'll change back to screens. We'll do the vote. All those in favor? The amendment carries. On the item as amended, all those in favor? The item carries. Thank you. That brings us to item SC 21.3, preliminary report for 3291 Kingston Road, 2 and 4 Windy Ridge Drive, official plan amendment, zoning amendment, and rental housing demolition applications in Ward 20. Councillor Crawford, did you have questions of staff?
No questions of staff. I just have a motion to move the expanded notification area.
Okay, great. Seeing no other questions of staff, we'll move to Councillor Crawford to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I will be moving the motion as I did with the previous item to expand the notification area for this particular development. I did want to have an opportunity just to speak to it very briefly. Even though there are no deputations to this particular item, doesn't suggest the seriousness of the community's concern around this development, similar to the development with Alltree and Birchcliff. In fact, these two items are very similar. With regard to, number one, the size of the density on Kingston Road, and the fact that they're looking at to make this development succeed, they will actually have to utilize two neighborhood houses or homes on Windy Ridge. So even though they're different, they're a number of kilometers apart, there's a lot of similarities that I think our planning staff will be dealing with as we move forward with this. And again, recognizing the other challenges we have on revitalization and development along Kingston Road. So they're very similar in that respect. The community has already, in fact, out of this development, community residents association, the Cliffcrest Scarborough Village Residents Association has been formed. I've been working very closely with them on their concerns at this very early stage of the process, recognizing they have, serious concerns about the impact to that community. And I've assured them, as I have with the Birchcliff community, a very strong, robust consultation process to ensure every opportunity for their voices to be heard. And I expressly have the same concerns that they have as I did with the Birchcliff community on the Alltree. But we will be, again, having a very robust consultation. Working very closely with the applicant, working very closely with planning staff, and of course the community. As I said in my previous remarks, that partnership is critical in any success, in any development that we do. And I will be committing to the community that robust opportunity to have that consultation. So again, on that, I will just move this motion to expand the notification area, and I'm looking forward to a continued conversations with the community, the developer, and planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Are there any additional speakers to this item? Okay, we'll move to vote on the amendment. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment? The amendment carries. All those in favor of the item as amended? That item carries. That brings us to item SC 21.4, preliminary report, 2499 Victoria Park Avenue, zoning amendment application, Ward 22. We have one speaker on this item, Miroslav Glavic. Did I say your name right this time?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can. You have 5 minutes. Happy New Year, Mr. Glavic.
Thank you. I emailed, one second, let me change my screen. there was an error on the thing. First of all, the municipal address is 2501. I emailed Sophie Knowles the email address at the bottom, not 2499. And two, I have a problem with that 12-story building there. About 30 seconds northeast of this direction is Shepherd and Pharmacy. As all of you should know, you all approved it. Southeast corner of Shepherd and Pharmacy have a building going on that should be about half finished, 3/4 finished. There's a sign in front of that building at Shepherd and Pharmacy saying there isn't enough empty spots for any families that are moving for their kids to the schools. Adding another 12-story, the amount of people in is going to add a lot of traffic in this area. If you look at a map, if you look at Pharmacy south of Shepherd is single homes. The amount of traffic a 12-story building, I think it was, is going to be beyond belief. Most of these houses, seniors live there. Would you want Armageddon traffic, as some deputy said in a previous item? Do you want to bring Armageddon to this area? I have family who lives there. I have an 80-year-old aunt and uncle who go for a walk and go shopping in the area at the No Frills or whatever it's called. I'm not against buildings and housing being built, but it has to reflect the community. You can't just add Armageddon traffic to it. Plus all the Armageddon that the southeast corner Pharmacy Shepherd building is going to bring to the area. It's a small, quiet little area. Commons Drive, Pharmacy Avenue. South of Shepherd Pharmacy is a small, very local street. Pharmacy doesn't even have an entrance exit to the 401, you know? Please, you need to have a consultation also in the appropriate languages. And a lot of those seniors are not going to go to the public consultations. And the average public consultation of these meetings, either in the special activist groups, is 20 or less. You know, I worry about the traffic. I worry about when my aunt wants to cross the street with the amount of traffic and the construction. Construction in Scarborough tends to screw up the neighborhoods doing the construction. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. Any questions of staff on this item? I just have one quick question. I just want to confirm that any public meetings would be held after the new councillor for Ward 22 is in office.
It's Paul Zuliani responding. Absolutely. As we discussed at the last community council, we will wait till a new councillor is fully in place for the ward, and then we will consult with their office to determine the appropriate dates for the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any additional questions of staff? Anyone to speak to this item? Councillor Lai?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering whether we could actually change the recommendation to 300 meters. I think the local councillor would have asked for that. I'm just wondering whether there's a sentiment from my colleagues here to change that, to amend that catchment area to 300 meters instead of 120 meters.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lai. I have asked the city clerk to prepare that.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to the next item and then come back, and that will give the city clerk time to prepare that amendment for Councillor Lai. So that will bring us to item SC 21.5, preliminary report 448-454 Markham Road zoning bylaw amendment application Ward 24. And our first deputant is Mr. Miroslav Glavich.
Hello, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Lai, for doing the 300 meters. You're officially my favorite Scarborough councillor for the next week, at least. Again, I'm going to say something similar. Councillor Ainsley knows this because I emailed him about my concerns. When you have a meeting like this, have it in at least the three top languages of the community. In Councillor Ainsley's is Tamil, Gujarati, Tagalog, Urdu, and Bengali. I don't even think Councillor Ainsley even speaks those languages, but I'm sure you can find at least one staff and have the option of live streaming these community meetings. You know, I've been pushing that for what, 8 to 10 years at the government management committee. You know, and it would be nice for the local community to have this option. You know, I can't remember the last time any community meeting anywhere in Scarborough before the COVID-19 was streaming, live streaming, whatever, you know. Thank you, and I know Councillor Ainsley will do the right thing. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the speaker? Any questions of staff? Anyone want to speak to the item? Okay, Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll move the recommendations on the item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll vote on the item. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. We can now go back up to item SC 21.4. Clerks have prepared the motion as requested by Councillor Lai. We'll pull that up and we can review it and then vote on it. So it's now amending the area to 300 meters as requested. Okay, any additional speakers on the item? All those in favor of the amendment? All those in favor of the item as amended? That item carries. We have just one procedural bill, one confirmatory bill. Can we pull that up? That Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 21 on January 6, 2021. Can I have somebody to move this motion? Councillor Ainsley, all those in favor? All those opposed? The confirmatory bill passes. That concludes our business for today. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending, both virtually and calling in. And happy New Year to you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year. Stay safe and well.
Yeah.